My name is Ray Carter. I'm 29 now, but when I was 23, something happened that fractured me forever. It was supposed to be the last adventure of the summer, one final memory before real life began. Me and my best friend Eric decided to spend 3 days hiking through the old Hollow Pines forest, a place known more for its beauty than danger. We wanted peace, fresh air, maybe a little thrill, but Eric started feeling weird, uneasy. He tried to convince me to turn back the first night. I didn't listen. That was the worst decision of my life. I disappeared for 7 days in those woods. I don't remember everything, but what I do remember still haunts me. We arrived at Hollow Pines on a bright August afternoon. It was beautiful. Tall trees, birdsong, no cell signal. Just what we needed. That first evening, we pitched our tent by a small stream. As night fell, Eric grew quiet. Said the forest felt too quiet, like it was listening. I laughed it off, but I'll admit, there was something heavy in the air, like the woods were waiting for something. Around midnight, Eric woke me up. He said he saw someone standing between the trees, just watching us. I checked. No one was there. Probably a deer, I told him. He didn't sleep after that. The next morning, Eric said we should leave. He didn't feel right. I thought he was being paranoid. I convinced him to stay. By noon, he said, I keep hearing someone whispering your name when you're not around. That night, the forest changed. No breeze, no bugs, no moon, just darkness, and the sound of footsteps circling our tent. When I stepped outside, flashlight in hand, there were no prints around us. Eric was done. He packed his bag and left before sunrise. I stayed. I wish I hadn't. I kept walking deeper into Hollow Pines, determined to finish the trail. I wanted to prove it was just fear messing with us. But the trail started to twist. The markers disappeared. My compass spun like it was broken, and every hour, the light dimmed, even during the day. I tried going back. Every direction looked the same. Every tree looked familiar, like I was walking in circles. That's when the forest started whispering. Not words, just sounds. Dry breath, branches snapping just behind me. Then came the figures. At first, just flashes in the corner of my eyes. Then full shadows, people-shaped, tall, still, watching. I ran, no idea where. I stumbled into a glade with a strange tree in the center. Its bark was black, like charcoal, and hands were carved all over the trunk, hundreds of them. Small hands, child-sized. I heard something behind me, turned, and saw a face in the tree bark, pushing out from inside, like the wood was soft. Flesh! I screamed, ran again. Hours passed, no way out. I survived by drinking stream water and eating a few trail snacks I had left. By the 4th day, I started to see things. My mother's voice, Eric's face on animals, shadows that smiled back. Something wanted me to break. On the 6th day, I woke up covered in dirt. My fingernails were broken, like I'd been digging something in my sleep. Beside me was a hole, fresh, shallow, and something sticking out of it. A shoe. My shoe. The exact same one I was wearing, same scuff mark, same broken lace. It didn't make sense. That night, the forest finally spoke. Whispers became words. Hundreds of voices echoing through the trees. Stay. Be part of us. No one leaves Hollow Pines, I snapped. I ran blindly, tearing through vines and branches. And then I saw light. Real light. A rescue team. Dozens of them. Flashlights, shouting my name. I collapsed. They said I'd been missing 7 days. Eric had called the police. They searched, but until that night, there were no tracks, no signs of me. They said it was like I disappeared off the face of the earth. I never told them what I saw. they wouldn't believe me. Now, 6 years later, I still wake up in sweat, still hear those whispers in my dreams. And sometimes, just sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see that tree again, and the face forming in the bark looks like mine. My name is Brian Keller. I'm 24 now, living a pretty regular life in Wisconsin, working as a mechanic. But there's something I've never told anyone, not even my closest friends. It happened back when I was 17, still in high school. We were just a bunch of bored teenagers who thought we knew everything. But there was one thing we all feared: Black Hollow Woods. It was the kind of place you only whispered about. Stories said people who entered never came back. We'd always assumed it was local folklore, just enough fear mixed with fiction to keep kids away. But I was curious, stupidly curious. One night, I decided to go into those woods. Alone. It was a Friday night. My friends and I, Derek, Sam, Jonas, Micah, and me, were hanging out behind the school gym, talking nonsense. Then Jonas brought up Black Hollow. He said his cousin once went in on a dare and never came back. Sam said he heard search parties. Went in and found nothing. No tents, no bones, not even footprints. Just a cold, eerie silence. They were spooked. I wasn't. Maybe I should have been. I waited until everyone left for the night. Around 11:30 p.m., I grabbed my flashlight, a small hunting knife, and snuck out to the trailhead that led into Black Hollow. My heart raced as I crossed the rusted fence with the "Do Not Enter" sign nailed to a crooked post. The forest felt wrong from the start. There were no animal sounds, no wind, just thick, motionless air and the crunch of dead leaves under my boots. I moved deeper, flashlight trembling in my grip. I thought I saw something, movement behind the trees. I turned, quickly, but saw nothing. Then, I heard it. A low growl. At first, I thought it was a coyote, but it was too deep, too heavy. My flashlight flickered. Then I saw them. Eyes. Yellow, glowing, watching me from behind a tree. I stood frozen as something enormous stepped out from the shadows. It was a wolf, but not like any I'd ever seen. This thing stood nearly 5 feet tall at the shoulder. Its fur was coarse and patchy, like it had aged 100 years. Its teeth were jagged, and its limbs looked too long, almost human-like. I swear to you, it grinned when it saw me. I turned and ran. I didn't get far. A flash of pain tore across my face. Its claw. It had swiped me before I even heard it move. Blood poured down my cheek. I stumbled, screamed, and sprinted blindly through the woods, my flashlight long lost behind me. The trees closed in like they wanted to trap me. Every time I stopped, I heard heavy breathing, circling, stalking. It wasn't following like a normal predator. It was toying with me. I tried climbing a tree, but a loud guttural howl erupted from somewhere above. That's when I realized there wasn't just one. I curled up at the base of a rock, knife drawn. The bleeding had slowed, but my face throbbed and I was dizzy. The forest started playing tricks on me. I saw brief flashes, shadows darting between trees, eyes glowing high up in the branches, even though wolves don't climb. Then I saw it again, the old wolf, standing still just 10 feet away, staring. I finally spoke. "What are you?" Its head tilted. It moved closer. But before it could lunge again, I heard something strange. A bell ringing softly in the distance. And just like that, it turned and vanished into the dark. I didn't wait. I ran toward the sound. My legs barely worked, but I forced them. Eventually, I found the source. A cabin, Small, ancient, hidden behind thick pines, an old iron bell hung by the door, swaying in the wind. I pounded on the door, screamed for help. No answer. I pushed the door open. Inside, it was dark and empty. But someone had been there recently. A fire had been lit in the hearth. And strange, drawings of wolves covered the walls, old runes, circles, and Latin words carved into wood. On a dusty table was a journal. I opened it. The last entry was dated 1896. It described a creature born in the woods. A wolf cursed by ancient rites, fed by fear and blood, kept alive by those foolish enough to enter the forest. It fed only on those who entered alone. And, worst of all, it never forgets a scent. I stayed in the cabin until morning, too afraid to step outside. As dawn broke, the forest began to sound normal again, birds chirping, wind moving leaves. I stepped out, wounded, shaking, and made my way back toward the trail. It took me hours, but I made it out. When I got home, no one knew I was gone. My friends were shocked to see the gash across my face. I told them I fell hiking, but I could see Jonas looking at me differently. He whispered, "You went into Black Hollow, didn't you?" I didn't answer. That scar on my face never healed, properly. It's a constant reminder, but that wasn't the end of it. A week later, Jonas went missing. They said he went camping. He didn't tell anyone where, but I knew. I recognized the smell in the air when we searched for him. Wet leaves, blood, and something ancient. Only his backpack was found, torn open, claw marks across the leather. Since then, 2 more of our group are gone. Micah disappeared on a road trip. Sam vanished during a solo hike. Only Derek and I remain. And sometimes, I think I see yellow eyes watching me from the edge of the trees behind my house. Because I escaped, but I led it out with me. And now, it hunts us one by one. My name is Marcus Lane, and I'm not the kind of guy who scares easily. I've spent the last 8 years working as a forest conservationist, camping solo, trekking through thousands of acres of wilderness, and monitoring wildlife. I know the woods like the back of my hand. But last October, something happened during a solo assignment upstate. Something I've never been able to explain or forget. I'm sharing it now, not for sympathy, but because I need someone else to believe me. I was sent to Pine Marsh Preserve, a newly protected area in northern Maine. It wasn't on most maps, and the only access was a narrow gravel road that hadn't been maintained in decades. I was to document plant growth, animal activity, and note any signs of illegal logging. I arrived mid-morning and set up camp near a small stream. The forest was dense, towering pine trees, fog that never seemed to lift, and a stillness that felt unnatural. It was like the woods were holding their breath. That first night, I heard scratching sounds outside my tent. At first I thought it was a fox or raccoon, but when I shined my flashlight through the mesh, I saw something too tall to be an animal, something that ducked behind a tree the second the beam hit it. I stepped out, scanned the trees. Nothing, but I found footprints, long, narrow, and barefoot. I told myself it was probably another hiker, though I hadn't seen a single person for miles. The next day, the forest seemed wrong. Every direction looked the same, even with my GPS, which started glitching. The deeper I went in, I'd mark trees to track my route, but hours later I'd find the same mark in the wrong direction. It was like the woods were shifting. That evening, I set a perimeter of motion-sensitive trail cams around my camp. I needed proof. I needed to sleep. At 2:40 a.m., one of the cameras triggered. I woke up to a soft click and checked the feed on my tablet. The footage showed a shape moving just at the edge of camp. Tall, thin, draped in what looked like pine branches and deer antlers. Its eyes glowed for a moment, reflecting like an animal's, but far too high off the ground. Then, the screen glitched. When I checked the area, I found a long, thin carving in the bark of a tree just 15 feet from my tent. It looked like an eye. Below it, written in the bark, were the words, "I see you." I left everything but my emergency pack and flashlight and began hiking back to my truck. But no matter how far I walked, I never reached the gravel road. By sunrise, I was back at the stream where I started. Except now, my tent was gone. I hadn't hallucinated it. I wasn't sleep deprived or injured. Something was toying with me. I kept walking, trying to conserve my water, forcing myself not to panic. I made it to a different part of the forest by mid-afternoon and found something deeply disturbing. An unnatural circle of pine trees, perfectly spaced, as if planted intentionally. In the center was a pile of clothing, torn fabric, boots, a wristwatch still ticking. I recognized the forest ranger emblem on the shirt, one from our department, but no ranger was assigned here for over a year. As I stepped into the circle, everything went silent again. The wind, the birds, even the insects. It was like stepping into a vacuum. Then came the whisper, low and gravelly, from every direction. "Join the roots." The trees began creaking, not from the wind, but like something inside them was shifting. I looked up and saw movement between the branches, pale limbs stretching, faces half formed in bark, watching. I sprinted out of the circle, not daring to look back. I ran until my legs gave out and collapsed near a small rise. That's when I saw it, my truck. Somehow, I'd returned to the gravel road. I didn't wait. I drove until my gas light blinked red, then slept in a gas station parking lot 6 towns away. When I checked the trail cam footage days later, only one image remained undeleted. It showed me sleeping in my tent. And behind me, in the shadows, a tall figure with antlers staring directly into the camera.